Welcome to the Vision Seed Podcast, where we gather in the dark beneath the soil within the luminous void from which all creation blooms. Without our sense of sight, we explore the alchemy of the creative process through intimate conversations with artists and visionaries. Together, we embrace the mystery and infinite potential of the unknown. This is a space to honor the whisper of inspiration and the dance within the blackness that births creative magic. Let's journey into the void. Magic. So we'll go dark. Are you ready, Daniel? Yay. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, so just finding ourselves here in conscious and deliberate connection to the void. And this is the space, this is the fertile darkness where all creation has the potential to manifest. And this is where I came from, this is where you came from, this is where we all came from. And there was the spark of our awareness of our beingness. Yeah? So we're going to start with the first element that appears in the element of space, which is earth, down in the roots. So you might even rock back and forth a bit and just kind of find your sits bones on the ground. And in this first chakra, Muladhara chakra, in the roots, we're going to explore the theme of your history, your past, the groundedness, the practice that has made you as an artist. So here, Izzy, I'm curious if you can share with me the first memory of art making that you have.
Well, I believe I was 2 years old, and I have a picture of it actually, and I don't know whether it was crayons to start with, but there's a picture of me of like just two covered in paint. But yeah, both my parents are actually artists, so I was introduced to it pretty early, curiously. Well, that might be further questions, but it actually made me not feel like I wanted to be an artist for that reason. But, you know, it was in my blood.
And I think it's natural, too, for us to want to, like, push against what we've been raised in, right? Like,
Totally.
Naturally, like, if your parents are artists and you're steeped in that, your teenage rebelliousness normally will like take you away from whatever it is that you've been steeped in. So yeah, I hear you with that. And for those who don't already know you, can you, just give yourself a little introduction, your name, what you're doing, what you're up to, your medium, all of that.
So my name is Izzy Ivy. Most people know me through my oracle decks. I've always been creative, but I actually only discovered painting, like properly, not as a 2-year-old. But I discovered it as my passion about 13 years ago when somebody introduced me to oil paints. And my whole life basically did a 180-degree turn. My Saturn return actually at the time. And since then I've created 4 oracle decks, and I'm working on 2 more right now. So you can get a sense that I'm very, very passionate about what I do. But my greatest excitement is finding different ways of combining like healing and energy work and anchoring the divine with art. For me, it's like visual art, but I do also do the writing. I write the books that go with the decks as well. The full thing is like a bundle of information that kind of unpacks itself as it needs to. Yeah. So, but yeah, my main medium is paint. Not necessarily oil paint. I also use acrylics, but it's all, I'm a painter essentially.
Yes. I'm like squirming in my seat because this is the moment today that I felt the most like, yes, I'm sitting with someone who's the most like me, or I feel so much in common, but I'm also just absolutely in awe of your devotion and how prolific you are. It's like, I feel, I'm in the company of royalty, and also just helping me anchor the prayer to continue to create and to continue to to paint. So thank you. I'm so grateful to be here with you, sharing this ground below us.
Wonderful to be here.
Yeah. So in the roots as well, what is grounding your creative practice right now? I know you mentioned before we went on camera that you were just retreating a little bit to do some painting. What's the day-to-day? What's grounding the practice?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because funnily enough, as much as I do paint pretty much every day, in order to kind of be able to continue to paint, there's also another side of the picture with, I also teach art, and there's a fair bit of, emails and planning and logistics that go with basically all of the parts that allow me to show up in the world as an artist. So I actually find that side of things, or like say the admin side of things, a bit more ungrounding. But when it comes to doing the painting, it's just, I guess, because it's something that I love so much, even, if I'm working on something that's a bit more difficult or whatever, it's still, I feel like the actual core of what I do is both grounding and uplifting at the same time. So when I have a day off, what do? I want to paint.
The necessary, duality of the creative and the structural.
Exactly.
And I think that I can imagine that's also helped you build a pretty high level of self-trust, knowing that you can monetize and career make your creative passion and show up and schedule things and respond to emails and support yourself in that way. It seems like a coming together of the masculine and feminine in a way too.
Definitely.
The creative and the structural.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Yeah.
And that's a total initiation. That's a precipice I find myself on in present moment and in the last years, especially with creating Vision Seed, with creating this project. There was this directive that I received to making art, but then make the art making process one side of, or one aspect of a larger whole, which was serving artists to do the same, to make their art feel safe again, to make them feel that they have the tools and body and breath and in connection to their own energy to feel safe to create. And so that's required me stepping into also a much degree of structure and integration. Also, I totally get you when you're this is the side that I don't really like to do. It's not just a pain in the ass to actually build all of that at times. But on the opposite side of that coin, and as we move into the sacral, I'm just placing a hand on my low belly here and feeling the orangeness of that, this center of creativity and passion, pleasure. I'm curious what right now is bringing you the most gratification, the juiciest part of your practice that you feel, just turned on by. Where is that in your art right now?
Yeah, I think it's following the mystery. There's a very strong intuitive calling that I have to create certain things, and sometimes I don't really understand what it is that I'm doing or why I need to be in certain places or whatever. And then there are these aha moments when the pieces come together, or when I've shown up in certain ways, put in the hours, or learned patience and then I start to see it coming together. I mean, really, I'm talking about oracle deck creation, and there's obviously, as you well know, there's a lot of images that go into a deck, but it's as if, as I'm sure you feel affinity with this, there's an oversoul of the creation, and it's going to show you step by step, rather than the whole thing at once. And there's a really big element of trust. And there's also an element of wow, I'm crazy, putting all this time into certain things, and then when you actually see it, all the pieces come together, and you're wow, I couldn't have come up with that if I tried. It's there was something greater than me that was creating this, and I get to like discover and excavate it.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
you
and be
know.
a steward to that mystery.
Yeah.
Let it come down and through.
Exactly.
Yeah, so good.
And even the individual paintings themselves can be like that, as I'm sure you're also
Yeah.
familiar with. You know, they're like an oracle in themselves.
Yes.
Whatever you're experiencing, or whatever journey you're moving through on a personal level,
just becomes manifest right there in front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, I could not have planned that at all.
Exactly.
But there it is.
Yeah. There's a big piece of getting out of your own way with creation. So, I feel passionate about that.
Yeah, that is really beautiful. Yeah, I love letting a painting tell me what it wants to be, and like you said, getting to excavate the mystery out of it and to really steward the mystery onto the canvas is such a humbling and also just a really, I find, very like emotional act, you know. And this is also related in the sacral center. This is like a center of emotion, connection to emotion and the waters of emotion. And I feel, and I'm sure you feel the same way, there's no more salient and depthful way to explore our inner world and our world of emotion than through paint. And I'm already feeling the themes of the solar plexus coming through, and like the motivation and the willpower that it takes to bring through such an incredible amount of artwork is something that I'm so in admiration of. And I'm really curious for those listening and also for myself, what is the character that you, Izzy, had to become in order to make all of this happen? Like, what are the identity pieces that you feel support your creative proliferation?
Wow. Yeah, I think naturally I'm more of an introvert, and I think what has been required is knowing that it suits me quite well, obviously, to be in the studio and deep dive into these creative processes. But that's only a one-way feedback loop if you're just creating. And so it's really important to have both the in-breath and the out-breath. So what I'm speaking into is getting out into the world, showing up, doing things like this, but also even like teaching and, I'm sort of feeling the push to share more on stage and more publicly. And, it's a little bit of an edge for me, or has been. But I know that it's part of my dharma, it's part of the creative process, or it's at least a piece of what I'm here to do with my art, and that is, share it with the world. But there's a little edge of, stepping out of one's comfort zone, but at the same time, I think that's what life's about. We can't just be in our comfortable bubble. There's something also really exciting and enlivening about being out in the world. So as much as sometimes it might be like, oh, I'm more comfortable in this situation, there's this really great feeling that also accompanies, stepping out and seeing people get lit up by, whatever it is that feels like wants to be shared.
Yeah. The courage to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like courage, yeah.
Yeah.
To not just, be the person behind the art, but to also be able to stand in front of what you're creating and share about it and communicate about it. It's a whole new level of refinement and commitment to your work, really.
Yeah.
Like, you're seeing it all the way through. You're not just bringing it through as the channel that you are, but then you're willing to stand in front of it and actually translate the work back to people. Because I think that, and I'm sure you relate to this as like someone who's like a visionary artist or like a channel, something comes through you and it's pretty much inexplicable, right? You're like, well, this painting just dropped through my awareness. Now I have to try to like translate it to myself as well as to whoever looks at it, right? Like, it's helpful to us to have to get to find the language behind a piece, and especially if you're creating oracle decks and having to write about every piece, you have to like decode the language of painting, right? And and learn what it wants to say and then translate it out so that it can be more deeply received by people ultimately. That's a huge and beautiful, courageous piece of your practice. I can feel that. Yeah. Anything else that feels, wants to be spoken here in the solar plexus as we move into this space?
Actually, I think what for all the creatives out there that might also be connecting to this is this idea of being seen. You know, when we're creating the way we do, we're bearing our soul essentially. And I'll never forget my first exhibition. I guess I probably had maybe 5 pieces in a group exhibition. I remember just walking around the block just before opening. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's about to look at my soul. And I mean, I got over it and it's fine now. But I just remember that there is a realness to the vulnerability of sharing, being seen in that way. And I think that's beautiful. You know, like I teach both in person and online, and it's amazing, even in the short time that we're together, or even if there's like distance or whatever, we're able to like really connect because we're all basically sharing our, that deeper aspect of ourselves with each other. And like on our canvases essentially, and so there's this kind of bonding or I see you kind of energy that happens, which is really beautiful.
I love that so much. Yeah, and being seen, by others, allowing ourselves to be seen by others and seeing others in their expression really does help us remember that, like, at least for me, that we're connected to kind of this shared primordial collective unconscious space. Where the themes that arise in one artwork will arise in another, but in a totally different way.
Yeah.
And it, like, I think for many artists, we have this tendency to view ourselves as misunderstood, or like, a little bit on the fringe of things, or like, actually get some ego gratification out of being a little bit misunderstood. Mm-hmm. At least for me, that was true for years. I was like, no one really gets me. I'm kind of just a sensitive Piscean artist girl, right? But that was like, I liked that. I liked that people couldn't get me, or that I wouldn't be, people wouldn't like understand where I'm coming from. But actually, when we come into like shared dialogue with other artists and get to share our work with people and get to talk about our work and view other people's art and talk about that, we start to notice that similar themes are coming through and that we're kind of all connected to a similar fabric of creation that wants to speak through our work. And so that unified field is naturally kind of bringing us up into the space of the heart. And I find myself just like softening immediately, landing here, and some of this like tension that I'm carrying in the space between my heart and my throat begin to soften a little, and my shoulders drop. And in the space of the heart, I'm curious what your devotion is right now. What are you devoting your work to or dedicating your work to?
So my devotion is what I thought was one oracle deck, but it's actually getting 2. And one of them is called Galactic Earth, the other one is called Galactic Prayers. I was given the name at the beginning from my guidance, and I couldn't decide which one it was supposed to be, and I realized it was actually meant to be 2, so they can combine together, but they're also creatures in their own right. But the one that I think I'm going to finish a little bit before the other one is one that actually has me traveling around the world, going to different sacred sites. So painting in these high energy places and allowing what wants to come through. And I'm pretty close to finishing it, I have to say, because I really like connecting and tapping into high energy places anyway. And that was the assignment, the soul assignment, as it were. And this is why there's this, for this particular deck and the other one that I'm creating, there's been so much trust involved in this, because it's actually, I've been working on it for 4 years now. And I've been, teaching and doing some other things as well, but this has been my main passion. But there's a lot involved in traveling to some of these really far removed places. Yeah. This is why I bring up the thing of being like, wow, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Why am I doing that? And it's like, just really over the last few weeks, or I suppose over the last sort of 6 months, I'm really starting to see the puzzle pieces coming together, and I'm kind of blown away by it.
Wow.
So, yeah, I feel like that's, when you're so close to completion with something, you put that extra real push in.
Yes.
So I'm really in that place right now. Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, would love, as we move into the throat, if you could just share like a story from one of your travels to these sacred sites over the last 4 years in the making of this deck. Maybe a moment where you really felt that like full fuck yes, or something magical that happened to you as you were channeling this devotion for this deck.
I mean, there's so many different images. I'm trying to think of one that's like the one that's most poignant. Well, it was pretty amazing going to Göbekli Tepe. That's, that is in Turkey. Really kind of in the middle of nowhere. When I flew back, the guy that was checking my passport was like, wow, what were you doing there? That's like not many people know about it. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sites that are essentially breaking the textbooks. And my connection actually with the kind of overarching thread of what I've been creating with my decks are all around Lemuria, like an ancient civilization that I feel like has some importance right now because, well, there's a bit of a story that goes with it, but there's a connection with Atlantis as well. But this particular deck that I'm creating right now is following like the remnants or the lost pieces of Lemuria and Atlantis. And as I say, Gobekli Tepe is this, well, there's a whole lot of underground, like temples that have been excavated that were all put like under the earth, like actually had earth put on top of them. So when they've been recovered, they're actually really in quite pristine condition. But they're dating them back to like 12,000 years ago, which is literally breaking the textbooks because it kind of basically shows that, there's an idea that civilization was at a certain point, or that had technologies that were, it's basically, I don't know, it's kind of very exciting to me, put it that way.
Super exciting. I can feel the electricity around it, like, picking up in you and picking up in me. I'm like, wow.
So it's a very interesting place, and it was quite an adventure to get there. And curiously, I arrived, and there was a few other people that were there, and they literally just walked down the site, and then they left within like 5 minutes. I'm kind of surprised, really. But I sort of took my time there, because I was kind of amazed to be there. And very interestingly, I'd had a kind of, I guess you could say, a difficult 24 hours before that kind of really threaded into what almost felt like a past life that could have been there, or like some very, very poignant themes that made it just so perfect that was the day that I happened to be there. And the site itself was, let's say, really amazing and inspiring. But then there was this tree just a tiny little bit away from it, and the place itself was actually not that windy, but when you went up to the tree, and it was literally just a couple of meters, the wind was so crazy. And this was obviously a very special tree because it had all these ribbons tied all over it. And I remember I just had this very powerful somatic experience of essentially seeing myself as a being from however many years ago it was, maybe, 12,000 years ago or more, but essentially watching the fall of humanity and seeing this whole process unfold. And I mean, it sounds kind of cosmic, but I mean,
chills,
so it was almost like I was some kind of like blue being that, wow, it was a very interesting experience.
Crazy.
But I was just crying because it was so powerful. And so it's an interesting one as well, because sometimes when you go to these sites, there's this like expectation that you might have an epic experience. And so I actually one of the main things that I do when I'm about to visit one of these places is, well, first of all, actually, like, find out what the customs are with, like, honoring space. But just to go in with a totally open mind and no expectations. And sometimes, you know, you might not experience anything. I do find that when there's like a lot of people around, it's harder to kind of really tune in to the energy of the place. But that was a circumstance where I was really there on my own. And yeah, it was just really, really powerful experience.
So cool.
Yeah, and then I got back to my hotel and I was able to paint the being, so it was still fresh. I wasn't able to like paint in the actual place, but the energy was still fresh in my field, so I could anchor it.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had chills as you were sharing that story because I've never thought about like Atlantis, really, or anything like that. Like, I don't know if this civilization that you're referring to like was Atlantean or Lemurian, you said maybe, but it's not something that's been in my field. But the other day I did a timeline therapy session. So it's like past life regression, and I'd never done anything like that. And we were exploring the emotion of shame. And when my hypnotherapist asked, is the shame from before, after, or during your birth? And you just instinctually answer with these things, right? You don't think about them, you just say exactly what your impulse is. And I said before, and I was like, that really surprised me.
Wow.
When I heard myself say there's shame from before I was born. And she said, okay, like dive into, like go follow that shame back. Like, where does that shame start? And I found myself at the bottom of the ocean. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm carrying shame from a collapsed ancient civilization, and I think it's Atlantean. I'm like, I've never thought about that before. When you said this, I felt chills. I was like, oh, I'm carrying the shame of a collapsed civilization. It's so strange. Never occurred to me that I could be carrying, that emotion from that many thousands of years ago, from a civilization that's now gone. But yeah, pretty incredible to recognize one's connection to something so ancient, and amazing that you were able to anchor that connection through art. And when you do that too, Izzy, like, your artwork creates a permission field for other people to begin to become curious about their connection to something really ancient and deep. Which is why it's so amazing that you're gifting us these works through oracles and through the decks, because you're expanding our collective capacity to remember ourselves as part of something ancient, which is such a gift, right? So, wow.
Thank you.
Cool.
Well, there's a reason that brought us together, have this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some connection points in that.
Yeah.
And you're right, the word you just said is remembering, and that's a real key, It's like we already know the stuff, it's just, feel already, reactivating it.
Yeah, so as we move into the area of the third eye, obviously there's so much that we can speak on here, and I feel that we could record an entire episode just speaking about vision and intuition and how anchoring those in your art has changed things for you and defined you and brought so many and countless gifts into your life. But I want to be as useful as we can to as many people as we can in this conversation. And with that, I'm curious if there were a piece of advice that you could give to someone who's wanting to connect more into their visionary or intuitive capacity creatively, where you would recommend they begin. Because the way that I share these things through Vision Seed, I'm just one person using one set of words, right? And the way that you share, the way that you invite people in might be totally different and totally more resonant to some people. So, someone who's looking to come into connection with their visionary, intuitive capacity, where should they start?
Well, I have shared this before, but it's really one of those things where it's the thing that you most love to do, the thing that lights you up, but it's probably the thing that you put off and say, I'll do that tomorrow, I'll do that next week, or I'll do that when I've got more money or more time, or when I'm here or when I'm there, or it's that essentially. It's like you already know. People are often like, oh, what's my life purpose, or what's my direction? And it's like when you peel off all the layers and the shoulds and the can'ts and the kind of crispy coating that separates you from the divine, which is also you, it's so clear, and that's going to be unique for everyone, and how you get there is probably going to be unique to you, but it's like you do actually know already. So it's really comes back again to that trust, and creating spaciousness for yourself in it, even for me as well, like I'm very devoted on my creative practice, but still sometimes, life encroaches, and I just need to be quite firm about, creating these little bubbles of time or even just moments of spaciousness so that I can listen. Yeah. And I know that we all live busy lives and there's lots going on, families and all of that, but I think it's in the spaciousness that you can hear, and it's not about seeking something outside of yourself. It's like you already know. You just need to trust the thing that you're most excited about.
Anything else here that wants to be shared from the space of the third eye? Is there anything coming through for you?
Well, the other thing I would probably say is that we all have different skill sets, and I feel that in terms of, you could say, soul assignments that want to come through, there's like they're aligned to you because of your unique set of personality traits or things that you've honed over the years, maybe. Like sometimes you might think, oh, why did I spend that amount of time in the past doing this thing that seems completely unrelated? But actually, it's got its meaning and its importance actually in ways that you might not even realize.
And as for your seeding of new visions and adventures, I would be super curious to hear a little bit about a few things that you wish to create in your lifetime beyond this next deck and the deck after that. What are some other things that you see yourself creating or experiencing?
I'm curious to write books themselves rather than the books that go with the oracle decks. I mean, I do love doing that, and there's so much fun with, like you say, unpacking each of the card images. But to write a book in its own right, I feel inspired by. And similarly, I feel inspired to create paintings that are maybe on a larger scale with deeper levels of technicality. But there is a part of me, and this is where, there's the edge for myself with like feeling like I'm wanting to step into something but I haven't put in time in, at least recently. And that is actually music. But, life is very, very full with what I'm doing already. So I'm not really sure what that looks like, but there has been some stuff coming through that I'm not even always choosing to do. It's very interesting how that's been happening.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Multi-passionate, multi-creative.
Totally. I was more inspired with music and composition when I was a kid than I was with making art, which was interesting, and same with writing. So it was actually kind of funny that I got into the journey that I did.
Yeah.
Not really surprising.
Yeah. Well, it'll loop back around, it seems, and you'll get the opportunity to continue to express musically, which is so cool.
Yeah.
All right, moving into the crown now. Of course, the Enlightenment card was present with us at the very beginning of our journey together today from the deck. Usually in this center I have us rest in a moment of silence and dissolution back into nothingness and the darkness that we're sitting in right now. But I sense that there's probably more that you have to share in this space of divine connection to creation. And I'm curious really when your art took a shift into the more transcendental or visionary or channels, like what was that moment like for you? When did you realize like spiritual connection to art?
Well, I actually started my, I guess you could say, spiritual path very young. I was really about 12 when I started to realize that energy was very, there was more to reality than the physical world, let's say. And actually, interestingly, throughout my 20s, I was a clothing designer specializing in fairy and goddess wear. I wanted to create clothing for like ritual and to make women feel like magical beings. Like that was my passion at that time. So it's always been kind of infused in everything I do. But yeah, it was, in terms of fusing it with my art, well, it actually almost happened before. I was having these downloads and some really powerful like spiritual experiences. And it was actually painting that came in afterwards and gave me voice for those experiences. And I was doing quite a lot of energy work, Reiki, and various different healing modalities before I got into painting as well. And that's why I've been so fascinated during my painting journey to capture light and magic and etheric kind of, iridescence, all of that kind of stuff, all the stuff that I was seeing in the subtle realms. I really wanted to anchor the unseen. That was what was so exciting for me from the get-go. So yeah, I guess that's kind of how it started, really.
And I think that, anchoring that unseen realm becomes more available to us the more we have a connection to emptiness and to no-thingness, right? Like to have a connection to the space that we're in right now, and to have a connection to void and recognize yourself as that space of infinite potential really heightens and invites in that visionary capacity, that ability to channel something down.
Totally.
So,
in the workshops that I teach, it's completely infused with different like meditations and activations, and it's like by going into that expanded space first and then going into the painting straight afterwards, it's just amazing how much more capacity people have for what they create. Like they're always like really blown away. Like I didn't think I could do that. Same for me. Let spirit dance me. That was amazing. What came through.
I love that so much in my workshops and in my course. We do Kundalini and Kriyas. So we do like Kriya yoga, and then obviously like breath, somatic practice, and then meditation. And the way that people are able to locate their creative genius after just a little bit of clearing work, like even the slightest amount of just like sweeping things out, the cobwebs of the mind, people are accessing things that I'm so amazed by that they just never thought they could, or they thought were forgotten or lost. And it's just really encouraging to know that the muse is never that far away. It's never as far away as your breath and your body, and a little bit of willingness to be still and to clear and rest. Such a great place for us to close too, in that rest. Just inviting us to look as if from above at all of the energy centers and the conversation that we just stirred through the roots, the sacral and solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and viewing this all from the perspective of our higher self, who knows stillness and who is stillness. Collapsing it all down and back to where it came from, to this void space. Conversations serve all creatives, all artists who gets the opportunity to touch. And may all creative beings be happy and free and liberated. And make more art. Thank you so much, Izzy. Beautiful. Anything you want to add before we close?
No, just that I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to, experience this kind of interview. I think it's very creative and it's definitely very much in alignment with the way I like to work. So very, very cool.
So grateful you're here. I knew it was an immediate fit. I was like, this woman, yes, come here.
Yay.
Where can people find you who want to find you?
My website is izzyivart.com, and you'll see all of my art on there, my workshops, oracle decks, all of the things that I like to share. But I'm also on Instagram, that's izzy_ivy_art. And from those places you'll be able to find everything that you need to.
Thank you for journeying with me into the fertile void on the Vision Seed podcast. As we emerge from this space, it's my hope that the whisper of inspiration may take root and aid you in your creative path. If this episode resonated with you, I invite you to share it, leave a review, and follow along with us on social media. Until next time, keep dancing in the dark and cultivating the seeds of your creative vision. Bye-bye.